as we set out, that we will have a good experience of love. And also, at times, we have to be humble enough to recognize that no other human being can fully satisfy the deepest needs and longings of the human heart. To go into any relationship, a particular marriage, with that kind of expectation is invariably to set ourselves up for disappointment. God alone is perfect. God alone can satisfy the deepest needs of the human heart. That is what at the heart of a Christian marriage, the belief that it is God who in very ordinary ways has been responsible for bringing Daniel and Jennifer together wherever they met in Melbourne, I think it was. So this might seem like coincidences, and they're part of God's plan for Jennifer and Daniel. So I'd like to finish today with not a quotation from the Bible, but one of my favourite writers, an Irish writer called Sebastian Barry. Lives in County Wicklow. He's written a number of plays and a number of novels. Back in the 1990s, he wrote a play called The Steward of Christendom. It was a one-person play, one man on stage. It was basically, according to Barry himself, the character Thomas is based on his grandfather or great-grandfather, I forget which, who was head of the Dublin Metropolitan Police around the time of the 1916 Rising. The play is set in an old folks' home, and Thomas is looking back on his life, on the people and on the events that have shaped him. And one of the most powerful, when I saw it first in the Abbey Theatre in Dublin, it was Donal McCann played the part. A man who was one of our most talented actors on screen and on stage, who died rather early because of alcoholism. So Donal McCann played that part, and it was a man called Owen Rowe who played it the last time I saw it a few years ago. But one of the most powerful scenes happens at the end of the first act. Thomas's wife is about to give birth. She's going into labour to give birth to their youngest child, their daughter. The birth isn't happening at home. It's not happening in a hospital. It's happening at home with the help of a midwife. So as his wife is going into labour, Thomas gets a little bit jittery. So the midwife says, now you go out and have a good walk for yourself by the sea and come back here in an hour or two's time. So he does that, and as he's walking by the sea, he's beginning to look back on his marriage, and he begins to realise how much his children have depended on their mother, his wife, for love and affection, and how poor relationship he's had, particularly with his eldest son, who has just died in World War I. So we're told he comes back into the room just as his wife has given birth to his child, and he takes the child in his hands and he says, I started to tremble. He said, one of those moments in life when you're allowed by God a bit of clarity and grace, when you recognise, possibly for the first time, that God is in your wife and in your children, that they hold in trust your own measure of goodness, and in your treatment of them lies your own salvation. That God is in your wife and in your children, they hold in trust your own measure of goodness, and in your treatment of them lies your own salvation. So that's the God who in very ordinary ways has been responsible for bringing Jennifer and Daniel here today. And I have really been impressed with the way they have prepared for the wedding, their choice of readings, their choice of music. Nowadays we get all kinds of requests as priests for music, but the way that you have prepared shows that faith and God is going to be an important part of your marriage. So that's why I always appeal on the day of a wedding, and I know we live in a fast-changing Ireland, try not to put your link between what happens at this altar and every altar Sunday after Sunday. Because, yes, at times outwardly it might be boring, but what happens there is that Jesus gives himself, pours his love into our hearts so that we can bring that love to our marriage, to our homes, our families. And at times when we might hurt each other and when we will need to say sorry and be able to say, I forgive you, that Jesus will give, what comes from that altar will give you the capacity to forgive and to heal. So it's in the presence of that God that Jennifer and Daniel now exchange their vows in the presence of you, their family and friends. Dear children of God, Jennifer and Daniel, you have come to this church so that the Lord may see your love in the presence of the priest in this community. Christ blesses this love. He's already consecrated you in baptism. Now, by a special sacrament, he strengthens you to fulfill the duties of married life. Jennifer and Daniel, you are about to celebrate this sacrament, so I ask, the church needs to be assured of a few things. So I ask you, firstly, have you come here of your own free will and choice and without compulsion to marry each other? Will you love and honour each other in marriage all the days of your life? Are you willing to accept with love the children God may send you and bring them up in accordance with the law of Christ and his church?
We are.
I invite you then to declare before God and his church your consent to become husband and wife.
I, Daniel, take you, Jennifer, as my wife, for better, for worse, for richer or poorer, sickness and in health, all the days of our life.
I, Jennifer, take you, Daniel, as my husband, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, all the days.
What God joins together, we must not separate. May the Lord confirm the consent you have given and enrich you with his blessings. So we come now to the blessing and exchange of rings. The ring is a circle. It's a symbol of unbroken love, the kind of love that which God loves each one of us from the moment of our conception to the day we die, the kind of love to which Jennifer and Daniel commit themselves today.